How can you buy a franchise that replaces your income? Better yet, you actually make even more money and you're able to quit your job and finally be free and fulfill your dream of being a successful business owner. That's exactly what we're gonna cover in this video. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I built a multi-million-dollar franchise business owning locations in California and in Florida. Now, this is a really important video, so make sure you stick around to the end. In this video and in my channel overall, I cover a lot that no one on YouTube talks about. What it's really like to own franchises, what it's like to make the transition, what it's like to own a business. And so in this video, I'm gonna be incredibly transparent. We're gonna cut through all of the noise and all of the BS, and I'm gonna give you the information in a real and authentic way. And my goal is that this video empowers you and gives you the information to have the confidence to decide if making the leap and transitioning makes sense for you, or at least how to set up a plan so that you can do it in a way that supports you in whatever way you need support. With that said, I have a couple of things to go over real quick. Number one, my wife and I opened our first location in California, our first franchise location that we built up from scratch. We got it profitable in less than 2 months open. So in less than 60 days, after investing $300,000 into our franchise, we did over $30,000 in sales our second month open. We were able to get profitable, remained profitable since, wind up selling that location. The reason for me saying this is because I wrote a 23-page PDF. It's called my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days, and you can have it for free. It's completely free. You can get it at my website, tarekjohnson.com. I'll leave a link below. You can apply this towards a franchise, towards a normal business, and towards any industry, so you can have an exact plan and blueprint on how to build a successful and profitable business like that very quickly. Number two is make sure you hit the little like button. YouTube is funny. The YouTube algorithm loves when people hit the like button down below. When you do that, the YouTube algorithm shows this video to more and more people. So it would mean a lot. I put so much time and energy and research in these videos to provide you as much value as I possibly can so that you can actually use this and use the content of my videos to make improvement and succeed as an entrepreneur. And then number three is if you get value out of my videos, please subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you do not miss any sort of content or videos that I put out in the future, but make sure you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. My goal is to continue to get to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you for all the support, for all of you that have stuck around since the beginning. We went from just 400 or 500 subscribers to about almost 2,000. Probably by the time I post this video, we'll be at 2,000 or just a couple shy. So super excited. Now let's jump into the video of how to buy and own a franchise, quit your job, and finally become free. All right, so as we cover this, make sure you take some notes because the more you interact with this video, the more you're gonna get out of it. If you take notes and take the actual action steps, this is like a free course that you're gonna get by going through this video, and you're gonna be able to make a more powerful decision. Number one is let's talk about money. Money is important, right? Because at the end of the day, whatever job you're working right now that you're trying to leave, you would not be working there if you were not getting paid money. So in making the transition to a franchise, it's very important that you put yourself in the best financial position possible, because any business, even any business that you totally love, if it's like been a hobby or something that you've really enjoyed, if you put the financial pressures on it, that business could become not so lovable anymore. So when thinking about making a transition from working a job to owning a franchise or owning a business, you've got to get very clear on what is your freedom number? What is the number that it takes that you make in your business that gets you free and gets you to be able to walk away from your job? Everyone's in a different position. Some of the clients that I work with, they're in a position where they can do something part-time because they have freedom and flexibility. I'm going to assume, for the sake of this video, that it's the most challenging situation and scenario, which is you've got to be able to replace most of your income. Now, this is something that the clients that I work through with my business and franchise consulting, I walk them through exactly how to go through this process, plan it, and actually take actions. But one client that I'm working with, as an example, he needs to replace about 90% of his income because he's married, he has kids, he's got to support his family, and he's got to take care of them. And he's working a lot right now. He's working a lot and he's stressed out, he's commuting. So he doesn't really have the flexibility or time to be able to do something on the side to be able to build it up. He's kind of got to make a clean break and make a transition. So because of that, and because he's going, look, I need to make at least $60,000 a year in my business, minimum. So now we're looking at existing franchise and businesses for sale. Because now he can buy a business that's already making money, that's already profiting, and he's able to make that clean transition. Whereas if he was going into a brand new franchise, I mean, that takes time. You got to actually find a location, you got to build that location out, you got to get up and running, you got to hire staff. So there's a big gap and a big window there of time where he would need to be able to cover his own expenses out of pocket. For him, he's not in the appropriate situation to do that. So the advice that I gave him and coached him through is finding an existing business. So when you're making this transition, all of the advice and the options and the best strategy to take in terms of figuring out where you are financially and how to bridge that gap and make the leap, it's all depending upon your current financial situation. As another example, I have another client that I'm working with, and for him, he's got a few $100,000 in the bank in savings, and he is absolutely miserable at his job. Maybe you can relate. You might be able to relate to him. He's totally frustrated. He's totally stressed out. And so for him, he's actually planning on just making the jump, leaving his job, and having a period of time where he's just focusing on finding the right business for him so that he can make a decision from a more powerful and relaxed place. And so for him and his situation, he can afford to do that. His fallback plan is, look, I've got money in the bank, I've got enough to cover my expenses, my wife works too, and at the end of the day, I can always find a job again. And so the reason why I give you those two different examples is because how you do this and how you make the transition is dependent upon what your unique circumstances is. And if you want some help or some guidance on that, reach out to me. You can hit me up at info@tarekjohnson.com and ask me a question. Tell me about what your situation is, because there are some options and it's important that you make the transition in a powerful way. Now, for you individually, if you want to guide yourself throughout the process, here's what you need to do. You need to take a look at realistically, where are you? Write it down. What is your current situation like right now? What's your level of happiness and satisfaction at work? How much freedom and time do you have? Are you able to make a transition and be able to work while you make a transition? As an example, I just got off of a call with a potential client yesterday, and she makes a six-figure income, but she only works 20 or 30 hours a week at her job. So for her, she actually has the opportunity to find a franchise and be able to get that up and running while she's still working, and then be able to make the transition. So identify where your situation is at right now. Put it on paper so you can see it. What's the reality of your work situation? What's the reality of your financial situation? So one of the things that you need to do is this. You need to get a clear snapshot of where you are. So you need to write down, what are all your assets? How much money do you have in checking account, savings account, CDs, investments, retirement accounts? How much equity do you have in your home? You need to find out what is your net worth. So get all of your assets, get all of your liabilities, write them down, see where you're at. Because either way, with a franchise, you're going to need to know what your net worth is. It's just your assets minus your liabilities equals your net worth. And so you need to get a clear picture of where your financial situation is to be able to make a strong decision in making your transition. You also need to know what your expenses are, because although you might be making, let's say, $90,000 a year in your current work, maybe you live very lean and maybe your expenses are only $30,000 or $40,000 a year, or you have a spouse that can help cover some of those expenses, and all you have to do is actually make less discretionary decisions like eating out and doing fun things as you make the transition. So you need to understand what your expenses are. An easy tool to do that is mint.com, mint.com. I'll leave a link for mint.com below, but you can just type it in, mint.com. You just plug in your banking information, it automatically uploads your paycheck, and it will calculate your expenses for you, so you don't have to spend hours doing it yourself. And again, if you want help with all this is something that I literally guide my clients through that I work with. And I'll also leave a link below if you wanted to apply to work with me. I only take on a limited amount of clients at one time, but it is something that I help my clients navigate through this entire process of transitioning to becoming a business owner. And it's a fun and scary process, but it's exciting. It's like a roller coaster ride where at the end you go, man, that was exciting. I want to do it again. All right, so the second thing to cover when making a powerful transition into owning a franchise or owning a business and being able to leave your job is finding the right business for you. Now, I talk about this a little bit before, which is what business makes sense. So the first thing is identifying, are you gonna pick a new franchise? Are you gonna pick an existing franchise? Or are you gonna buy an existing business? Or are you gonna just start your own business from scratch? I made a couple of videos on both of these topics, so I'll leave a link for those videos down below. One is how to choose the right franchise, and then the second video is, should I buy a franchise or start my own business? So I'm not gonna go over deep into the details, but you can look at those other videos so you can really get a grasp on what my specific advice is for both of those situations and scenarios. Also a great time to mention that if you haven't subscribed to my channel below, make sure you subscribe, because then you won't miss out on any of the other videos that I post. And at some point soon, YouTube's rolled out some really cool features where only subscribers will get certain limited access content, which will be really cool. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. So here's the key part about figuring out the right business is step one was before the money situation. You got to know where you are financially. Where you are financially and where your needs are is going to have a massive impact on what decision you make and what business you choose. There might be businesses that you want to get involved in that you can't because you don't have the net worth and the liquid money to be able to get involved in them. The other part is you need to understand your skill sets and how you're hardwired as an individual. Here's the thing, business and owning a business is hard enough on its own, especially if you're trying to transition from quitting your job to owning a business. You need to take advantage of two things, your skill set and your hardwiring, because we have natural skills that we have as individuals. Maybe you're more analytical, maybe you're better with people and you're good at selling and connecting with others and building relationships. Maybe you are more introverted and you like to be by yourself and you're really good at organization, details, and operations. Your personality and your skill set and how you're naturally hardwired has a major impact on your success or lack of success in business. And it is absolutely vital and critical that you choose and select a business that is in alignment with your natural skill sets and hardwiring, or if you decide not to do that, that you're making sure that you have a plan and a strategy on how to partner or hire the individual that makes up for the area that you're lacking in your business. So as an example, although I might seem very extroverted here on this YouTube channel, I'm actually very introverted. So what I like is detail, structure, organization, process, and operations. And so when we opened our first franchise location, I loved crafting our operations policies and making our business run more efficiently and figure out how to optimize the business. What I did not like doing and I hated doing was going out and handing out flyers and actually going out in the community and promoting events or the business, or when we had an event at our store, actually standing out and manning the table where we're handing out all the little tchotchkes and interacting with the community. That is not my natural wiring and skill set. But my wife is very good with that. My wife's the life of the party. So for her, she loves going out and talking to people and promoting things and selling things and having conversations. That's how she's wired. So we were able to leverage each other for what our skills and strengths are. And as you make this transition or look at a business to make this transition, it's vital that you do that yourself. And then another example here is when making this decision, like I have a guy that just signed up to work with me, a client, and he does very well in his professional career. He makes well over 6 figures, but based on his financial situation, because of some challenges that he had, I basically said to him, hey, a franchise doesn't make sense. And if you're trying to go franchise first, it's gonna take you a long time. So here's what actually makes sense based on your skill sets, because he's great at selling, he's got a great personality, he's really sharp, he presents himself well. My idea, and he has some really good skill sets. So my idea was, let's build you a consulting business on the side first, so we can get you free from your job or accumulating more and more assets and more savings, and then we can get you into a franchise at that point. So again, there's no right way to do it. There's multiple ways to pursue making the transition, but it depends on what your intention is. If your intention is to make the transition smoother, you've got to be very strategic and tactical about how you do that. And then number 3, here's the last part about this. And if you've made it this far in the video, I just want to take a moment and I want to commend you. Because here's the thing, you're a finisher. It's easy to start in business. It's easy to get started with something, but to actually follow through, to actually click on this video and still be watching it right now, it actually says a lot about you. Because the interesting part that you may not know from my side of the equation is that I see all of the stats. I see how long people watch my videos for, at what points they drop off. And it's very interesting to me because people that are watching my videos that want to own a business and be successful business owners, they're getting this free value and advice and information from someone who's done it themselves. And if someone's not able to make it through an entire video, what are the odds that they're going to be able to make it through to following through on their goals as a business owner? So I just want to commend you for still being here right now. It says a lot about you. And number 3 is actually the most important part. The reason why I save it for last is because I wanted to save the juiciest part for the folks that are actually serious, because you're the ones that's actually going to apply it. So the last part about making a transition to owning a franchise, to owning a business and leaving your job is you. It's you getting in your own way. And here's what I mean about that. If you have a pattern of getting overwhelmed, if you have a pattern of having a hard time making decisions because you're scared and the fear comes up for you where you don't want to make the wrong decision, or you feel like you're stuck and you can't pull the trigger, or you find yourself getting all of the information and the details and you just sit on it, or you procrastinate and you do things at the last minute, that is drastically going to impact your ability to be successful as an entrepreneur. Whereas when you're in a job, you have a big team around you and other people where their butt's on the line when their patterns are showing up, and working in a team environment, we tend to be able to pick up each other's slack. When you're going out into the world of entrepreneurship and owning a business, your blind spots get magnified more. Your procrastination or waiting and making a decision, or getting so overwhelmed that you don't make a decision, can have devastating consequences on your business. On the other hand, you being able to overcome that part of you and be able to make powerful decisions quickly once you have just enough information will support you in being successful as a business owner. As an example, one of the things I had to learn, me being someone who is very controlling, for a lack of a better term, I'm pretty OCD, I like things done a certain way, I have very high standards. I opened up a juice bar where I had 15 employees who were teenagers. I want you to think about that for a second. I had to grow a tremendous amount as an individual. employees showing up late, not showing up on time, making excuses, not having the high standards that I expect or want in my business. And if I wanted to have any sort of quality of life and not be at my business every day, 12 hours a day, and be paranoid that they're not going to do things right or they're going to steal money from me, it was going to lead to me being miserable. Yeah, I achieved my goal of being a business owner, but there's no quality of life. And I'm constantly scared and I'm constantly paranoid. And I'm having to do everything myself because I'm afraid to delegate because I think only I can do things the right way. And so I had to grow a tremendous amount as a person and an individual in order to not only make the transition, but do it in a way where I was able to have any sort of peace of mind. And so the reason why I share this with you is as you're embarking on this journey and process of figuring out if you should own a franchise, or if you should own a business, and if you should leave your job, or if you should do both things at the same time, you've got to really take a look inward and really take a look at what are the patterns and habits that typically show up for you. What are some of your blind spots? What are some of your weaknesses? Because once you know it and you have it clearly in front of you, you now have the awareness to be able to choose in that moment in decision about how you want to show up and the consequences to the decisions that you do or do not make in your business. And so this is some of the most important work that I do with my clients is that once we start working together, most of our coaching is around the mental and emotional side of things. Because I can put the right business in front of you. I could give you $1 million business and idea. But if you're not able to take action consistently, or if you're not disciplined, or if you're not resourceful, where when you hit a challenge, you just give up and quit and get overwhelmed and throw your hands in the air, then it doesn't matter what business you choose. You could choose the best business in the world. I could give you a turnkey McDonald's for absolutely free and you might run it into the ground. Maybe not. Maybe you show it powerfully. Maybe you have been so successful and you're so powerful as a leader, as an individual, that once you step into your business, you're just gonna flourish and thrive because you've just been making someone else rich because you're a powerhouse and you're absolutely amazing. I don't know you personally. I would love to get to know you, but it's important that you take this assessment of yourself. And keep in mind in business ownership, all of your fears, your emotions, all of the stuff that causes you stress and grief and challenges you, it will bubble up to the surface. It naturally starts to come up. For some reason, owning a business it's like a cleanse and it's like a detox. It pulls up all the negative things, all your fears and insecurities and doubts, and it brings it to the surface for you. So if you're serious about owning a franchise, owning a business, make sure you watch some of my other videos. I give a lot of details on what it's like to own a franchise, the things that you need to know, how to choose the right franchise for you. They're very detailed. So make sure you subscribe below. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop me a comment, by the way, and tell me what kind of franchise that you're interested in or what kind of franchise that you would love to own. And also make sure you grab my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days. Again, it's totally free. You grab it at my website. And make sure you follow that because it works. I promise you it works. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.